Alright, hey everyone, I'm Josh with Prinsu Design Studio and CBI Off-Road Fab. Today I'm going to be showing you how to install a roof rack on a Toyota Rav 4. Okay, so as you can see, I've already taken the stock side rails off of the vehicle. If you go on our website to check out the written instructions, you'll be able to see how that's done. It's pretty simple. After you've got that done, you're going to place your spacers down, grab one of your side rails, go ahead and lightly set it down. And you're going to take the mounting bolts. These are the same bolts that come out of the stock side rails. And then you're just going to tighten these up by hand a little bit. And then we're going to move on to the other side and do the same thing. So next step, now that you've got the two side rails on there, just hand tighten down. You're going to grab your crossbars. I've set some foam pads down to protect the roof. We're just going to do this step here, lay them down. This is going to make sure that our roof rack's square. And what we're going to do after that is go ahead and mark where we need to drill for these two center mounting feet. All right, now that you've got the crossbars laid out, you can go ahead and get your machine screws. That's going to be followed by the split lock washer and the flat washer. Once you've got all that together, it's going to take a T30 Torx bit, and you can go ahead and start putting your crossbars in. All right, so now that you've got your side rails on and your crossbars tightened up, this is the opportunity to check and make sure everything is square on the vehicle. One way to do that is just to check the mounting bolts here, and you can check on both sides, see if the spacing is equal from the end of the mounting foot to the mounting bolts. You can do that in the front and the back. Another way to do it is just visually look at it, stand in the front of the vehicle, stand in the back, see if it looks like everything's lined up straight. Once you're satisfied with how straight everything is, you're going to go ahead and pull this rubber trim off right here. And the reason we're going to do that is you're going to have to drill a hole on each side of the vehicle for the center mounting foot. So this piece is just held on with some double-sided foam tape, so you can just go ahead and pull that off and set that aside for now. Now you can see straight down into the channel on the roof where you're going to mark this mounting foot here. All right, now that I've got my marker, I'm just going to go ahead and run it right down the center of the slot for the mounting bolts. You're going to go ahead and do this on both sides, and then we're going to remove the roof rack and drill out the holes. All right, so now that we've got our hole locations marked, we're going to go ahead and take the roof rack off. If you've got a friend, it helps a lot. You can just have them help you take the whole assembly off the roof. If you're by yourself, then you can just go ahead and take the crossbars out. It'll make everything a lot lighter and easier for you. Okay, now that you've got the roof rack off and your location marked, you can just go ahead and take a little pick or whatever you've got handy and just punch right where you're going to start drilling. It's just going to help keep the bit from walking and make sure you drill exactly where you want. And once you've got that done, I recommend starting out with a small bit. Then you're going to go ahead and work your way up to a larger bit. We're going to go up to 3/8 today, and you can do that with a step bit or just progressively go up with bigger bits. So as you can see, when you start with a small bit, it's pretty easy to work your way through. If you were to start with a large bit, it's going to take a lot of time and be a real struggle. Another helpful thing to have handy is a small magnet. So after you drill the hole, you can go ahead and just clean up all the little scraps. After you clean them from the top, we'll go ahead and open the door up and pull the liner down and just run this under there too. Make sure we don't have any little bits left behind underneath. And I'll go ahead and show you that next. All right, to get to the area underneath where you just drilled, you're just gonna go ahead and pull back on this rubber trim here. It's pretty easy to get down. And you can just slightly press down on here and you can see the little metal shavings under here. So just go ahead and grab those up with the magnet. And now you'll be free of debris in your headliner. So next thing we're gonna do is install the plus nuts into the holes we just drilled. To do that, you're gonna use one of the supplied mounting bolts that comes with this, and you got your hex coupler, and then you're just gonna stack like 2, 3, 4 washers on top there. Just gonna start it off by hand. Go ahead and just make that guy hand tight. Then you can go ahead and add just a thin little bit of silicone around the edge. It's gonna help make sure everything is super watertight when we're done. Just a thin little bead around like that. After you've got that and your hand tightened, you can go ahead and drop it down into the hole. All right, so once you've got that in there, you can take your 1/2" wrench to grab the coupler with, and you need a 7/16 inch socket. And you're just gonna go ahead and start tightening it up. You're gonna wanna make sure that you keep pressure pushing down on the plus nut while you're doing this. You don't want any of the edges to pop up or anything like that, so that the bottom of the plus nut doesn't get sucked into the hole while you're tightening it. Keep everything nice, flush, and flat on there. It'll compress just right. See, while the plus nut's pulling up, it'll be pretty easy to turn, but once you start getting that engagement with the underside of the roof, it'll start tightening up. And once you get to the point like this where it's pretty difficult to pull on, you'll know you've got a good connection. You can go ahead and reverse things and pull the nut back out. Next thing you're gonna do after you've got your holes drilled and your plus nuts inserted, so you're gonna go ahead and put some silicone down around the mounting holes. And you can go ahead and put a generous amount on there. It's just gonna ensure that everything stays watertight. And you're looking for a complete seal around the spacer like that. For the spacers, the very front 2 mounting holes are going to require the taller spacers, so there's just an 1/8 inch taller than the spacers that are going to go in the middle and the back, so just be aware of that when you're placing these down. And just another thing to keep in mind with the silicone, depending on the temperature, humidity, other factors like that, is it's going to take a good 12 to 24 hours for this to fully cure. So during that time, you're not going to want it out in the rain, or you're not going to want to take it through a car wash or anything like that. You're just going to want to give it the time to set up properly. The ideal temperature for doing this and curing is around 70 degrees, so just be aware if the temperature is colder, it may take longer, hotter, it may take not quite so long. So now that you've got the spacers on and siliconed, you can go ahead and take the trim that we pulled off earlier. You can lay it down next to the channel and just go ahead and mark off in the area of this middle spacer where we're going to trim out. Once you've got your pieces trimmed now, you can go ahead and take some silicone and lay it down in the channel. This will just help keep the piece secure that we just pulled off. Okay, now that you've got the spacers on and you've got your roof rack lifted back up, you can go ahead and start tightening it down. You're just going to start by doing everything by hand first. And you're going to go ahead and do this on both sides of the vehicle. We're just going to loosely tighten them, so again you can go back and make any adjustments that you might need to even things out and make sure everything is perfectly square. So once you're satisfied with the way everything looks on the vehicle, you can go ahead and fully tighten it down. These middle two that we put in are going to take the 7/16 inch socket to tighten. All right, then the last thing we're going to do is put together the wind deflector. What you're going to do is you're going to take these pieces and slide them into the clear anodized crossbar. You're going to have 5 on the top row and 5 on the bottom row. Now once you've got them started, you're just going to try and line it up with your wind deflector as best you can. Then you can slide these over to line up with the holes in the wind deflector. Then once you've got those in place, you're going to take your Phillips head screws here. Same as before on the crossbars, you got your lock washer followed by your flat washer. And take your wind deflector and put it right on top here. And go ahead and start screwing these down in there. Then the very last finishing touch here is going to be the noise reducing trim. This goes on the bottom edge of the wind deflector and just pops right over the edge there. Start at one end and work your way around. And now we're ready to put this on the vehicle. All right, and that's it for the install on this RAV4 Prinsu Design Studio roof rack. If you got any more questions, you can go on our webpage, prinsudesignstudio.com, or you can check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.